This lecture is on the introduction to the ear, and I will also talk about the outer ear. So the ear, then, there are things in it that do two different things. The ear is for both hearing and for balance. So the parts of the ear, then, there are three sections, I'll put it that way, to the ear, then. And they then are the outer ear, and the outer ear gathers sound. And sound is simply vibrations of certain frequencies. Then we have the middle ear, and this transfers and amplifies these vibrations. Then there is the inner ear, deep inside your skull. This is a very complex place where we have one portion of the inner ear, which is the cochlea. And this converts these sound vibrations into hearing. And then we also have the saccule and the utricle. Saccule and the utricle, and the semicircular canals. All of these small structures in the inner ear, then, all of these things then are for balance. So those are the things that the ear does. So now I'm going to be talking about the outer ear. So the outer ear, then, consists of, first of all, the auricle or pinna. And this is the part of the ear that projects outside the skull. The pinna is this. So carrying on with the pinna then. The pinna then is made of skin and elastic cartilage. The elastic cartilage is why it flips back when you bend it. Don't do this, by the way, you can break the cartilage. And humans cannot move. Their pinnae, that's the plural there, their pinnae towards sound. But some other animals can. What did I just say? All I'm really saying here is that our pinnae are largely fixed. People can sometimes move them up and down a little bit by moving their scalp muscles, but that's it. Whereas if you have had a cat, you know that they can move their ears around and orient them towards the sound. Horses can do that. There are various different kinds of animals that can actually move those pinnae, those sound bells, basically around so that they can be oriented towards a sound. We can't do that. So our pinnae are pretty much fixed. So what's the function then for our pinnae? What a pinna does is it directs the sound waves into the external auditory canal. So now we can talk about the external or auditory canal. So the external auditory canal then is the tube within your skull, basically this here. You learned about it when you were actually studying the skull. I hope you remember the external auditory meatus. Here we are. So this tube then is lined with skin and hair. Sebaceous glands and what are called ceruminous glands. Which are modified sweat glands. Various different glands in your body are in fact modified sweat glands. I'm going to add to this, by the way, that these are modified apocrine sweat glands. You remember there are eccrine sweat glands and apocrine sweat glands. The eccrine sweat glands are the ones that make the watery sweat that keep you cool. The apocrine sweat glands are the ones that make the smelly sweat So your ceruminous glands then are special. These secrete a substance called cerumen, which you and I would tend to call earwax. And there is a problem associated with earwax, which is just basically if earwax builds up, particularly if it hardens and becomes compacted, this can impair hearing. Basically, hardened, compacted earwax can press against your eardrum and make it less responsive. I will get to this in a moment, where the eardrum fits into all of this. So I'm just going to say briefly, just to repeat this, where you have a ceruminous impaction, then this then can impair hearing. And then sound waves, these vibrations that create sound waves entering the external auditory canal at the other end then hit the tympanic membrane, otherwise known as the eardrum. At the end of the canal. So what does this all look like then? Let us actually draw a diagram here so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. I'll erase this bit first in case you want to actually write that down. So here we go. It's pretty straightforward. You have an ear. So here's the pinna. I hope you recognize that. So there is the pinna or auricle. There we are. And the pinna, which is this, then winds up directing sound. So we have sound waves here that are hitting the pinna, and the pinna then directs these sound waves, and this is not to scale, into that long canal in your skull that starts right there. So this then is the external auditory canal, right there. And then at the other end, you have this little membrane here. That is the tympanic membrane. or the ear drum. These are both good names. Eardrum, think of the head of a drum. When you hit it, it vibrates a little bit, it goes in and out a little bit. So what is going on at that end there? Let's take a closer look at that last part. So here again, we have the external auditory canal. And here we have the tympanic membrane or the ear drum. So this is a membrane, and what it does is that as these sound waves hit it, it will vibrate in and out. So these sound waves will hit it, it will get pushed out, then it vibrates and goes in. So you just have this membrane here at the end, which as these sound waves are hitting it, may go out, it may go in. So here then we have the tympanic membrane, and it is that in and out motion then of the tympanic membrane that is eventually turned into hearing, into what we think of as our ability to hear. It is taking these vibrations from the outside world, and now they go on their first conversion, if you will, their first physiological conversion into something physical in our bodies, the vibrations of the eardrum. And that is it for this lecture.